I'd have to say what I really enjoy about Happy State Bank is the morale that we have. Part of that goes back to the ownership that we talked about. Everybody understands as an owner, we're going to think like owners and not like managers, and we truly have each other's back each and every day. So that just the teamwork, everyone works so hard for each other, knowing that the ultimate goal is that each one of our customers is going to leave this bank knowing that we have given them everything we have as bankers to exceed any expectations they had out of our bank.
Thank you for being here today. We would like to open the meeting with an invocation given today by Commissioner Ellen Robinson-Green.
Would you bow your heads and pray with me? Loving God, today and every time we gather together in this place, we are thankful for many things. The blessings of this community where people of many races, creeds, and ideas can come together to work for the common good. The thoughtful citizens who care enough about our city to share concerns that touch all of our lives. The wisdom and goodwill of our leaders in government, business, medicine, and education. And the diligent efforts of our city staff, especially those who serve to protect our community from harm. Even as we give thanks, we know other communities, much like ours, not so far away, are hurting and rebuilding today. Our thoughts and prayers reach out to them as they face challenges and reclaim a sense of hope. May we always be creative to reach out to one another, care for our neighbors, share our gifts and talents, and live together in harmony, mindful that in the midst of any crisis anywhere, your compassion, courage, and love can be found, because in both times of trial and in times of calm, we are created to reach out to one another, care for our neighbors, share our gifts and talents, and live together in harmony. Amen.
Thank you. If you join me in the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Good afternoon and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Amarillo City Commission, held on the third floor of City Hall this Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. First item of business on today's agenda is the minutes. Attached is a copy of the minutes. Those minutes are regarding the meeting of May 28, 2013. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented? If not, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of minutes as presented.
I second that motion.
Motion and a second for the minutes as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7409. This is the first reading of an ordinance annexing 2.65 acre tract of land in section 230 and 231 block 2 ABNM survey, Randall County. It was approved by a 6-0 vote of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Is there any question from the audience regarding this annexation? Any from the commission? Not entertain a motion?
Mayor, I move approval of ordinance number 7409.
Second.
A motion and a second for ordinance number 7409. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7408. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance changing the zoning of a 22.15 acre tract of land consisting of a 20.12 acre tract of unplatted land and a 2.03 acre tract of unplatted land in section 74 block 2 ABNM survey, Potter County, in the vicinity of Airport Boulevard and Southwest 3rd Avenue, from agricultural district to light industrial district. Are there any questions from the audience regarding this second and final reading? Any from the commission? Not entertain a motion?
Mayor, I move we approve ordinance number 7408.
I second.
A motion and a second for ordinance number 7408. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Resolution calling for a public hearing to determine whether certain conditions described herein constitute a public nuisance at the stated location. This resolution sets a date and time for a public hearing to determine if the property at 910 Northwest 19th Avenue constitutes a public nuisance and thereby declared a dangerous structure. A copy of the resolution will be mailed to all interested parties, providing a 10-day notice for public hearing. Are there any questions about this item from the audience or from the commission? Not, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the resolution that sets a public hearing on Tuesday, June 25th at 3 o'clock for the property at 910 Northwest 19th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. The consent agenda. It's recommended the following items be approved, that the city manager be authorized to execute all documents necessary for each transaction. A is the award of water transfer pipeline engineering services, and B is the award of oils and grease annual contract. Are there any items that need to be removed for separate consideration by the commission? Any items that need to be discussed by the audience or by the commission? Not entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
I second the motion.
A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. We now have a presentation, our monthly presentation on Every Drop Counts. Very important to our city, and I'd like to ask Mr. Henry Autry to come forward and make the presentation. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. It's a brief one today, 5 slides, and should be easy, and the first one come up here pretty quick. There we go. First slide is basically what you're going to see on the graph in just a little bit, but I wanted to make some comparisons here, number versus number, between the years 2011, 2012, and 2013 to date. That will be the first 5 months of the year. And the thing I'd like to point out here, so a couple things I'd like to point out. If you look at 2011, and you look at the 5-month total for 2011, you can see that it was already 1 billion gallons ahead of where we are this year, and that's good news. Also, we see that the first 5 years for 2013 is somewhat less, the first 5 months that is somewhat less than the first 5 months for 2012. So that all looks good so far, except that you'll notice that I colored one of those numbers yellow. And we have bounced up, and if we could have the slide at this time, you can see the black line was tracking along that lowest line, which is the 5-year average without 2011 built into it. So it was tracking along a long-term average line until now. So we have seen it jump up at this time. Hopefully we'll see it go back down in the coming months, and it won't continue this trend. Right now it is, the black line is topped out, which represents May. The end of the black line represents last month. And it's topped out along with the 5-year average considering 2011, which is more than we would like to see, but yet a lot less than 2011 was. So, now I would like to just give you a couple of slides here about the system, and I don't have him, but that's Samuel Wayne Horton Clemens there, or Mark Twain. And the point I wanted to make here, introducing the idea of every drop counts tonight, is really the top statement up there. Water in Panhandle is a finite resource, and then I go ahead, as you all know, finite is the opposite of infinite. We do not have an infinite supply of water in the Panhandle. And then whoever made that first statement was definitely right. We don't want to wait until the well is dry until we understand the value of water. I think that we city government and we in the city of Amarillo, citizens and all, need to take that message and run with it, and some have, and I appreciate that. Of course, that issue about fighting over water, we could probably leave that out of tonight's discussion, and, as well as the whiskey probably, but if you would, now go to the next slide. Now, this is the oldest pump station in the system out at City Lake. It was put online in 1927. By my calculations, that's 86 years ago. And it's still pumping. We still have 8 or 9 wells out there that have been pumping for 86 years.
Were you in charge of the water department?
I was, sir, yes. I was brand new. Well, you one up the mayor there, Frank. I was waiting for his opportunity.
1964, right?
Yes.
I was 14 years old when you were.
That's right, that's right. October 1964. But anyway, just to show that we do have some reliable water sources out there that have lasted a long time, and this one has all the earmarks of probably lasting for a long time yet. Does not put out a lot of water, but it's still producing water. Okay, this is my wrap up here. It's just simply saying I miss Lake Meredith. And I think it's a beautiful picture of the lake when it had a significant amount of water in it. Our conservation team is still meeting on about a 3-week to a monthly basis. We're meeting again on Friday. We have an activity tomorrow at the first high noon on the square of the season. So we're going to be over there handing out water conservation information, etc., to the people who show up for high noon. And even going to give them a popsicle. So if you would, please show up for your popsicle. I'd hate for you to miss out on it. That's the only thing I do that makes me popular. Is giving away popsicles. Do you have any questions for me? Other than the 1964 question. Mayor.
Does the usage still track rainfall? Is that pretty, when there's less rainfall, the usage goes up, right?
When there's rainfall, what?
When there's less rainfall, the water usage goes up, like
yes.
May.
Yes.
We still are tracking it. 2/3 of the water is spent on our lawns here in Amarillo. Is that what it is?
On a year-round basis, right at 60%. That's correct.
Okay. And I think the biggest misunderstanding is how often one ought to water his or her lawn, and when. So could you go over that?
Right. I can tell you from my own experience that you can water fescue grass twice a week for about 25 to 30 minutes per zone, and your grass will stay green. Okay? The idea is to water long enough to get the water down to the root zone. If you get the root zone wet, then of course it's not going to dry out as quickly, and your grass is going to remain beautiful a little bit longer because it got enough water. I think some people water 4 or 5 or 7 times a week, but they only water for a few minutes, and next thing you know, it's all up in the atmosphere. And I don't want it in the atmosphere because we haven't figured out. We've tried it, but we really haven't figured out how to get it out of the atmosphere after it goes up there. So we have a lot to learn. Personally, I would like to have Bermuda grass in my yard, and I'm definitely making strides on that. I have a growing area of Bermuda grass in my front yard, and I will be able to water it about 3 times every 2 weeks and still maintain a good-looking lawn, in my opinion. You're welcome to come by my house if you want my address. I'll give you afterwards and take a look at it. But twice a week, and that's only in the heat of the summer. During the wintertime, about once every 3 or 4 weeks.
Early in the morning or late at night?
Always early in the morning. If you go late at night, you stand a chance of getting mildew because it stays wet all night. If you wrap up your watering, say around 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, mine starts at 4 and about 7:30 it's all, 6 zones and it's done. If you start it early, then the grass doesn't stay heavily moist as long. The leaves are not covered with water droplets because when the sun comes out, they'll evaporate that off. and that's where you get into the mold problem and mildew problem. I didn't know I was going to talk about mold and mildew today. One of my favorite subjects. Do you have any other questions for me? No.
Before you sit down, Mr. Autry, I want you to know when we talk about your longevity,
Yes.
we do that with admiration.
Well, thank you.
And I would also, and appreciation. And I would also want to add, we have a Boy Scout in the back, Sean Crossan. And Sean, this gentleman in front of you has a little secret. He is one of the best backpackers in the country. Still backpacks, and still, you covered the Appalachians and also
No, sir, it's the Pacific Crest Trail.
Pacific Crest Trail.
Yes, sir. And,
Still do that.
sir,
You still do.
I still do that every year, and if Jared will give me the lead time in August, I'm going again this year. We'll pick the days you like, boss.
So it's not just golf you can enjoy until you get older, is it?
It's absolutely.
Oh, okay.
You can until you get older, for sure. I don't mind telling you, I'm almost 72 years old, and
Are you really?
I'm running a race with Commissioner Sims. He's winning slightly.
I'm 72.
Right.
He's in a hell of a lot better shape than I am.
Well, we know you don't have continuous service, but you certainly have the oldest beginning service, and we're darn proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Our next item is a presentation of the city's response on May 28, 2013, with the severe weather storms. Kevin Sarbuck.
Yes, Mayor and Commission, good evening, and thank you for having us.
Tell us the title of your job, please.
I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator for the city and Amarillo County. With me is Maribel Martinez, who serves as the Assistant Emergency Management Coordinator. Dr. Martinez. Yeah. I brought the brains of the outfit to explain the weather phenomenon we experienced last week. And I'm going to let her start off, and we're going to just jump right into the storm track and some information on the storm, and we'll talk about the damage and our response.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to the next slide. We'll go through, first of all, the radar loop, what happened that day. This is the radar loop that goes from 7 p.m. That Tuesday night through 1 a.m. the next morning. Started off along the Oldham, Desmond line, New Mexico line. Started heading initially northeast, about 20 miles per hour. Did produce 2 tornadoes, confirmed tornadoes, rated EF0, so towards the weaker end. And that was 9 miles from Sims and then over in the bootleg area. So they were rotating, we were concerned with it. We knew that it had large hail. That's what we were getting, golf ball size, ping pong size hail. And we thought it was going to spread around the city. Unfortunately, it hit a boundary just as it was south of Vega, an old boundary, and it just took it straight east, took a straight turn right towards Amarillo. Officially, we got 1.23 inches of rain, so yes, Jared, we did get some rain. I know he was down there in the EOC and we were getting 0.01, 0.02, but eventually we did get a lot of rain. Unfortunately, we also had the high winds and ended up with baseball-sized hail. So 2.75 inch hail. The highest wind speed recorded was actually not during the storm itself. It was pre-storm. It was recorded at 6:15 over at the Weather Service. That afternoon, between 3 and 7 o'clock, we had a rare event, kind of like a wake low. It's just a lot of pressure changes that caused a lot of low visibilities in the area and caused wind gusts 50, 60, and ultimately 71 miles per hour that afternoon. We did not have a confirmed tornado on the ground in Amarillo counties. Let's go to the next slide. So again, 3:09, Lubbock office issued a severe thunderstorm warning for Carmel Valley counties. We started activating duty EOC or duty officer EOC activation at 3:30 p.m. and that was with some of our staff. Fire department came in later, and our AES storm spotters. Like I said, we initially had some severe thunderstorm warnings in place for all those higher gusts and low visibilities. Those ended up turning into high wind warnings and aviation warnings. We had numerous responses by our first responders and public works for debris on the road, down power lines, down power poles, a lot of issues throughout the city. And Excel Energy did report 6,900 meters out of service during that afternoon hours, and that mainly was between about 3 and 7 p.m.
Continuing along with the storm track, 458 was the first tornado warning that was issued from this storm, and it was issued actually in Palmer and Smith County. I think that's important to recognize that that storm was a very long-lived storm, and that ultimately was the storm that impacted us here in Amarillo. At 10:17 p.m., something that had not necessarily ever been done for a severe weather event, but in coordination and collaboration between the Weather Service and discussions that they had with us and with the Department of Public Safety, the State Department of Public Safety, they actually put out an advisory to ask travelers to avoid I-40 from Swansea to Adrian. Now, no troopers were able to go out to those locations due to inability to maneuver around the storm and get to locations to actually close the highway. But ultimately, that was issued and put out on all the DMS signs here in Amarillo as an advisory to keep people off the road. At that time, the track appeared that it was going to go northeast of Amarillo, and as we are all aware, we're well aware it did not follow that track. At 10:40 p.m., we actually did a full EOC activation for Weather Watch. And I think it's important to recognize that we had a fair amount of people, about 20 people in the EOC prior to that opportunity, including spotters in the field, including personnel for Weather Service and other locations. But at that point, we went to a higher level activation, notified both Potter County and Randall County and the mayor, and kept the city management and county management in the loop. I know Commissioner Kelly from Potter County came down, Judge Hottishell from Randall County came down, and we were doing our best through Jared and others with city management to ensure that city management and county management were well aware of what was going on with the storm activity. 11 p.m. is when we had the first tornado warning that affected our area. This tornado warning was issued and it covered the area of Bushland. That's where we had our first activation of the outdoor warning system. 2 sirens are located in the Bushland area. Both those sirens were activated 3 different times for 5 minutes each time and was used for our primary warning in that area. In addition, the Suddenlink cable cutting system automatically activated when the tornado warning was issued and subsequently was provided immediate update information from the Office of Emergency Management. Spotters in the area reported seeing electrical flashes in the area of Farmers and Atkinson Road, including baseball-sized hail. In the lower right picture there is one of our spotter vehicles, one of our Amarillo Emergency Service volunteers, who suffered significant damage to his vehicle, damage to the windshield, blew out one of his side windows, and quite honestly, for a period of time, we thought we was going to have to seek shelter in a ditch. He was certainly in harm's way, and I think this last week we've all seen what can happen with those volunteers that go out and do that job. Moving along, 11:16 p.m., storm continued to approach Amarillo. At this point, the warning was expanded to include all of southern Potter County, all of northern Randall County. Once again, the Suddenlink cable cut-in was activated. Our outdoor warning sirens in the entire system was activated 4 times. That includes 90 sirens. Plus, Affiliated Foods has a tie-in. They actually have 2 sirens in their property that ties in with our system, and they're part of the activation when we activate that system. There was reports from 2 ham radio operators in the area of a tornado on the ground in the area of Swansea and 45th. That's never been confirmed. No damage path can be found in that area. But certainly you can see from the pictures, the top right picture is from the area of 45th and Swansea at that time frame. The bottom left picture is from basically that same area a little bit further south. And then the picture down there, the bottom right-hand corner is from the area of 45th and Bell. There certainly was a very distinct feature. Certainly appears to be a funnel that was moving through that area. And certainly we saw significant hail damage throughout Amarillo on the west side of town, moving through the central part of the city. 11:46, warning operations continued. At that point, we shifted it to focusing on activation of just the city sirens, which includes 64 sirens. And there was a report from Amarillo Police Department, multiple reports from Amarillo Police Department, of a funnel in the area of I-40 and I-27 and interchange. At that same time, the AECC and APD personnel that were working issues in the interchange area moved to shelter in the Emergency Operations Center. The AECC was offline for 5 minutes during that time frame while they sought shelter. And I guarantee everybody who was in the EOC at that time has very strong opinions that a funnel cloud did pass right over the center at that time. We're fairly certain, given the conditions and the things that we were experiencing during the EOC, that we had a very close call. Next slide. This just kind of gives you an idea of some of the damage that occurred around town. Obviously, just significant damage. Top corner picture, top right corner, or top left corner pictures from Southeast 17th where a roof was blown off the structure. Amarillo College on the bottom left, big tree that was toppled by high winds. We don't believe that was necessarily part of the storm damage, but was some of the earlier wind damage. The Botanical Gardens, I'm sure we've all seen some press releases and press coverage on that, suffered significant damage to the facility. A lot of their facility was damaged. At I-40 in between Coulter and Bell, the Tiffany Apartments suffered significant damage, lots of windows blown out, lots of damage to siding and roofs, and then the various hail shots. I think it's fairly safe to say that throughout town we saw everything from quarter size to golf ball size hail in very large quantities. Certainly some reports of baseball size hail inside the city limits. We just suffered significant damage from this storm. Just kind of wrap up the coordination aspects, little information on that. The AECC received 494 calls from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. It's about 2.5 times their normal traffic that they would get from 911 calls. AFD and APD conducted our initial damage assessment, sending out both fire crews and police officers throughout the damage area to give us an initial size up. There was a conference call that we conducted with all of the city divisions to ensure that what their operational status was and whatever issues there might have been. We actually concluded EOC operations at 4:30 that morning, so we wrapped things up at that point. The next day, first thing in the morning, and I'll have Scott come up here and talk about what building safety did, but we began conducting a more thorough windshield damage assessment of the area, and I think you'll find that the numbers he's going to present is fairly staggering on the impact to our community. Risk management is currently compiling the impact on city equipment and facilities, and kind of just a flavor of what we've gotten. Working with Municipal Garage and Michael Rice and Public Works. At this point, we've got approximately 225 city vehicles that suffer varying levels of damage from hail. Everywhere from $2,000 to $8,500 in damage to each vehicle. Many of those happen to be at the service center, brand new police cars that were sitting outside. So our detectives will be driving the Titleist model for the time being. We'll try to get that fixed for them, I'm sure. City facilities, for the most part, fared fairly well. Minor roof damage to numerous facilities. 25 skylights were damaged. The city parks and the Ross Rogers Golf Course. In fact, that picture up on the top left, I know it may be a little bit hard to see. No, those are not divots on the green. That's hail damage to the greens at the new golf courses up at Ross Rogers. So they suffered significant damage up there. 37 traffic signals suffered damage, lights being broken, frames around the lights being broken off. So all of those types of things were issues that impacted us. At this point, I'm going to ask Scott to come up. He's going to kind of cover our community impacts. His crews did the vast majority of our damage assessment and got some of that information, and I'll let him cover it.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission. Our building safety staff diligently went into the community the following day, and we performed windshield assessment. We had 20 vehicles canvassing a variety of streets. We broke into quadrants. We traversed every street in the city of Amarillo to evaluate what that damage looked like. Ultimately, we resulted in over 38,000 single-family homes that were damaged, 38,417 residences. Thousands of businesses were impacted. We have results that came through the Insurance Council of Texas. Their estimates at $400 million in damages, 35,000 auto claims, thousands in home claims, and 75% of the houses reported some type of damage. Our solid waste solid waste landfill had a 50% increase in collection that following day. This map outlines some of the impacted or the greater affected area of the city. The light yellow shade is that of the affected areas, and the darker yellow highlights the minor or more significant damage that was resulted. When we speak to the minor damages would be more significant in siding, fascia, some of the metal components, as well as skylights, minor damages being that of roofing materials and the like. The picture that is illustrated along with the drawing is from APD and some of the hail that of course caused that damage. As we went through the damage assessment, then the need was to transition in how it is that we're going to protect our citizens. And we of course work with our media outlets to do our press release on Permits Protect, ultimately geared towards informing our citizens and our local contractor associations the need to have proper permitting. In that process, we were diligently enforcing our contractor registration to ensure that any contractors that we have working here in the city of Amarillo are registered with the city of Amarillo, and that they have the appropriate liability insurance and surety bond to make sure that work is performed as it should be and completed in accordance with our municipal code. Our staff started last weekend and will continue throughout the process to perform weekend sweeps to make sure that we do not have unscrupulous people doing work without us being aware of what they're doing. Another portion of this is that we have produced an awful lot of documentation, some of that you have before you, which is to reach out to our citizens, let homeowners know what it is they need to know when hiring a roofing contractor or a contractor to make repairs to their residences or commercial properties. We've done an awful lot with our media outlets to have dialogue and to make sure that we're communicating with our citizens to let them know that we are a resource available to them. We're posting all of this information on our city's website to make sure that they have all the resources they need available to them, and encouraging folks to make sure that contractors have all of the proper licensing and permitting in place prior to commencing with any work. We've met with our contractor organizations, and we've changed our permitting process throughout this event to help expedite. And what we've done is the traditional method has been that of requiring a written permit application prior to issuance. Currently, we're taking phone calls, we're taking roofing calls as a priority, and any of our roofing contractors that call in will immediately process that paperwork while they're on the phone and issue that permit number so that they can begin work as soon as possible, as soon as the claims adjusters are paid on that. We're issuing that number so that they can post that permit number out on site. We're requiring that permit number is posted on site so that we can verify that we have a valid permit, and that we're not having to unnecessarily stop to confirm whether that work is legal or illegal.
And your people will be going around the city checking for those permits.
Absolutely.
And what happens when you catch a roofer doing a job that does not have a permit?
If we catch
all these fellows in blue and they can put in jail?
well, we have a number of recourses that are available to us. And first and foremost, we're going to provide a notice of violation. We've drafted a specific notice of violation. We have those printed and ready to go. That we're going to provide notice and give them an opportunity to come in and obtain permit inspection. However, failing to do that on the front side of the model is going to cost them $250 plus the cost of that permit. If they're caught a second time or any subsequent time after that, it's going to be $500 plus 3 times that permit fee. If we find that we have someone that continues to violate that, then we have Chapter 1 of the Municipal Code that we ultimately have some provisions that we can work through our municipal court.
And Scott, the point I'm trying to make, I've been to enough rodeos. There's going to be some of our citizens ripped off, in the common terms, fly-by-nighters, but they're crooks, and they do it in different ways, but they'll get into the pockets of our citizens. And I know that you don't have staff that are building every block citizens to check on these things. Call the city if they need to find out if a contractor is licensed. And here again, to get suggestions, don't pay for the job until the contractor's through.
Absolutely, and the literature that you have before you is to help inform citizens on what it is that they need to know, and certainly not to pay a contractor prior to, that contractor having permit, so he's able to have that work inspected and to know that we have a bona fide, qualified individual doing that work. We're working with the Better Business Bureau, and we're going to have a marketing campaign, if you will. We're going to run several ads that are going to focus on the fact of what is a contractor, what the different levels of contractors are, and how it is that a person can research whether that contractor is truly a valid contractor to do work here in the city of Amarillo.
And this is going to be a lot of money. If it's being estimated that it's $400 million, think about the insurance laws or provisions where the homeowner has to, their deductible is 1%. That's $4 million. It's going to come out of our citizens' pockets. And I think we have a responsibility to protect them as best we can.
Absolutely, and that's our first priority. Just in the name of the department that we are, it's building safety, but truly it's to serve our citizens, and that's what we're looking to do. We already have people out there scamming, they're impersonating adjusters, they're doing any number of things, and we're working with our contractor associations. And if you'll notice, and I have some cards that I've left out there, as well as you have a card on there, a text and a tip line that's manned 24/7. And what we're doing is even our contractors that are required to have a surety bond and have liability insurance, if they see a contractor working, and I've already followed up on probably 12 or 15 different contractor names to see whether they're in our system, we have an awful lot of eyes out there. We have our staff that's cross-trained. We're out there. We're going to be implementing flex scheduling. So we'll have actually boots on the ground from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. At least, as well as 6 days a week and some days 7, so that we can take care of the inspection workload as well as just have folks out there canvassing and verifying. Our local roofing contractors, when I say local, it's the 26 counties of the Panhandle. Our Texas Roofing Association, Panhandle Roofing Association, encompasses the Panhandle, and we have a large community to pull from to help us get through this. Well, they're also another set of eyes. I mean, the hundreds of contractors that are out there, to see someone doing work that they know that they don't have a permit because they don't have it posted. So that's why we're going to strictly enforce it. And I met with that association today, and I told them if that number is not posted and we stop our truck, it's going to cost you $40. We're going to fail the inspection, and you're going to pay $40 because we don't have the time to stop and babysit the work that you're doing. So we're going to work very hard to protect our citizens and to get them through this in a very expeditious way.
Those good contractors are supportive of that, I'm sure.
They're very supportive. I was told to wear a flak jacket, some Kevlar, and I went through that meeting. They were very pleased and happy to ensure that we're going to enforce our rules.
They want an even playing field.
Absolutely.
They want to be able to apply good practices. Let me ask something as a consumer. If I got my roof damaged and somebody told me, well, we've got a lot of work, the only way we can move you up is to pay half this up front. Obviously, we don't want them to do that.
Absolutely not.
That's a scam.
Absolutely.
What is a standard upfront payment to get a roof done by these good contractors that you're talking about? What's a common amount that they say, I want a percentage to get you on the list? Anything? Nothing?
I mean, in the current environment, much of this, and we haven't seen a lot of the applications to date because we're waiting on insurance claims. And ultimately, those insurance claims, and that's where some of the scam is coming in, that we have people that are going out saying they're an insurance adjuster. Do you understand how your deductible works? If you answer the question that, yes, I do understand that, then they go to the next house. And they're doing this courtesy call. Well, as soon as somebody doesn't know what it is that their deductible is, then they're offering up the fact, well, what you have to do is you have to pay 1%. And you'll pay it to me. We have a special account set up. You come down to the bank with me. We'll put the money in. And we'll get you started on your way. That's what they're doing. Shouldn't be paying anybody anything up front. You sign into that contract, and when you have a contractor that's requiring money up front to do the work, then you have to lend a question to what is it that we're doing, and especially in this environment. So certainly they just need to sign a contract and then work through their insurance company. If they don't have insurance, have a local contractor that's reputable verify whether it is that it's registered with the city of Amarillo, and you can even go as far as the Better Business Bureau. And
With these insurance companies and what the contractors say about those that suggest, I'll get rid of your deductible.
I'm sorry?
What do the people say when they're saying, well, if you do this work with me, I will charge you a deductible?
That one I can't answer.
It's not legal, is it?
Probably fraud.
I'm not sure that we can speak to that one, Mayor.
Okay. All right.
I think I've covered really a good portion of what it is that we're doing. We're just taking our municipal code and we're enforcing it very clearly. We're communicating that very effectively. We're providing all the resources that we can to our citizens out on our website and partnering with whatever local associations we can to communicate that we're here to help. Of course, we want to have a positive community impact, and we want to take care of our citizens, and we believe we can do that very effectively and efficiently, as long as they partner with us to get there.
You know, it was interesting, this is just a side note. Around 1 o'clock, I got on some errands, and I went out Old 66 to the post office that's out there just this side of Sunset. And it was amazing in those motels, the number of pickups with ladders in the back. I mean, you knew that it would be either adjusters or roofers.
Yeah, as we were canvassing, it was much the same. As we were canvassing neighborhoods, I was just doing a supervisory ride, just through them all. We had everybody assigned particular streets, but I don't know that it is that I made it down a single street that I didn't have to weave around a roofing contractor. You know,
The ladder in the back.
they're coming from everywhere, so I think we're prepared. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Basically, to wrap this up, I want to talk a little bit about community preparedness. And certainly, I think one of the lessons learned is the sheer number of calls that the emergency management, our dispatch centers, and others were receiving before, during, and after the event, talking about what do they need to do, what am I supposed to know. Community preparedness is something that we like to focus on. It's really one of the cornerstones of emergency management. The more prepared we can make our community, the less we're going to have to respond to issues, and our recovery is going to be that much simpler. Just some very basics, and just this is kind of just emergency management 101, but people need to have a plan. Need to think these things through in advance. Pre-identify your shelter location. Don't wait until the storm is 12 minutes out, the sirens are sounding, to ask the question where you're going to go. And unfortunately, we have people doing that, and that's a failure of all of us. We need to have our community educated. We need to have people pre-identifying those locations and taking action immediately. Stay informed. No weather radios are a very inexpensive, effective warning tool. It's the primary tool that we promote. Costs roughly $30 to $35 at just about any location in Amarillo that sells electronics, including our supermarkets and Walmarts and other locations. And we strongly encourage people to go get them. It's a program that's been in place for a long time. The new NOAA weather radios can be programmed to the individual county that you live in, and that warning will alert you 24/7. So it's 3 in the morning, you're sleeping soundly, no weather radio will wake you up. Matter of fact, I just heard it going off before as the commission meeting was starting today with a watch that was being issued. Local television and radio, great source of information. We appreciate our local television and radio meteorologists and the information they were providing throughout the storm. All 3 of them went wall-to-wall coverage as the storm was approaching and did an excellent job. And that is a very effective and good source of information. Mobile device warning tools. In Maribel, or maybe a little bit weather geeks, we all have weather radio apps on our phones and radar apps and other apps, and get about 14 different texts from different sources on weather warnings. There's really no excuse how you don't get a warning in this day and age. There's so many different products and things available out there through mobile devices and through weather radio to get those warnings. And then certainly we're very proud of our siren system. It's a system that's been developed over the last 60 to 65 years. It's constantly being evolved and improved upon, and it worked effectively. All sirens were activated and ran as advertised. Unfortunately, one of the sirens was damaged, burned out the motor on it, and we'll end up having to replace that one or fix it. The upside is it is actually covered by 2 other larger sirens in the area, so we're not necessarily losing any coverage, but we are losing some effectiveness in that particular area. The key and the last thing I believe is when warning is issued, take action immediately. Don't wait. We've seen it time and time again with the storms that went through Oklahoma and Texas and the Granbury area. People that wait or don't take action or take inappropriate action put themselves at risk and potentially become casualties of the event. And certainly we don't want to see that happen. If you identify that location, you take action immediately, move to those locations. That's going to be your most effective means. Yes,
I have a question, Mr. Starbuck. What do you say to a citizen who is in, for example, the 2000 block of Travis and says, you know, I could not hear a siren in my home? How do you respond to folks when they make those comments?
Appreciate that question, and I think the key is in the name of the system. It's an outdoor warning system. It has never been designed to be heard indoors. It just, especially with modern construction, designed to keep the outside environment out and the inside environment in. You should not count on an outdoor warning siren to give you that alert. That's why we promote the no weather radio system. It provides that indoor warning, provides that warning when you're asleep or when the children are playing and you're cooking dinner and you got the TV on and 90 different things going on, and you just can't count on the outdoor warning system to be your only means of warning. Other questions?
It seems that we have a plethora of people who like to park their cars under a freeway and any kind of bridge when we have any kind of weather warning. Does that propose, or does that cause any problems with the transportation of emergency vehicles through the city?
Yeah, and that is potentially a very significant issue. And there, unfortunately, we've all seen, at least from my staff who looks at this stuff, issues where first responders are trying to get to an area or to warn the public or to respond to an issue, and they're impeded by people using underpasses as a garage. And it's really just not it's not a safe thing to do. It creates traffic issues, it creates issues for responders. It's really something people should avoid. Keeping their vehicles at home, staying home, and just riding out the storm.
We see that on nearly every warning. They start to park cars hours ahead of the storm. Mr. City Manager, I would like us to look into what we can do to preclude that. I think it offers a danger to citizens that's unnecessary. And I don't know what can be done shy of period, but certainly a reminder that it's a public street. Access for emergency vehicles is critical. We saw, I know in Oklahoma City, they talked about some people under a bridge that were washed away. That may not happen here, but we certainly get flooding under some bridges. And it seems to me that it just adds to the confusion and the inability for people to respond when they need to.
Sure, and certainly from a response perspective, it's a hindrance, and that it makes it more difficult for emergency response vehicles to maneuver through an area for people to get out of harm's way if they are just trying to get out of the way. If they're driving home and they come across an area that's blocked because everybody's trying to stay out of the hail.
Mr. Starbuck, isn't it TxDOT property under those?
The underpasses along I-40 and I-27 are, and certainly the state right-of-ways, but that's something that I think we can all look at.
Maybe it's just simply bringing it to people's attention, but I'd like us to at least look at it.
I think along those lines, Mayor, you kind of brought this up. There's a video from several years ago, a tornado that tracked near an underpass, and we saw all these residents or citizens that abandoned their vehicles, went and took shelter under the underpass. That is not a safe location. You are actually putting yourself at greater risk by going into those locations, because if a tornado were to track over that area, it serves as a vortice to actually intensify the winds in that area, and certainly it's not a safe location. It's not a place to go for shelter.
We've learned some dramatic things by news, but you all have done a great job responding to what has happened here. Would you say that it's just the grace of God that we didn't get hit further and could have had the tragedies we've seen in Oklahoma City?
Yes. The reality is, and we've certainly in visiting with our weather service counterparts, there's been a lot of discussion over whether there was a tornado that actually impacted inside Amarillo. We would never wish that. If we were dealing with a tornado impact, we would be dealing with a very different issue. We'd be dealing with people's lives being shattered, homes being destroyed, potentially injuries, fatalities. That's the reality of the tornado impact. And I think we're very lucky, very blessed that it appears that at most we had funnels that it came very close to the ground, and certainly the hail damage and high wind damage that we experienced was bad enough that we're already seeing that in the tune of, you know, an approximate $400 million impact on our community. So yes, we're very lucky that it wasn't worse than it was.
I think the commission would join me in thanking you all for your efforts.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Go Mayor.
Good job.
Anything else?
Sure, if I could, we have a representative from Excel Energy here with us, Brenda Holland, and we'd just like to thank her and David Hudson. They jumped into action the same time we did. Of course, they started early with the power lines that were down that afternoon. Brenda kept working on that, and Mr. Hudson actually sat in the OC with us for many hours that evening. So thank you all for doing that. Being able to coordinate really helps.
I think at this point concludes the today's regularly scheduled meeting of the Amarillo City Commission. Are we going to return to the executive session? We covered it.
We're done.
We're good. So the agenda items are finished. At this time, however, it's customary to allow citizens of the community with matters not on the agenda pertaining to city policies, programs, or services to speak to the commission. The floor is now open for such comments. And I would like to introduce again Sean Crossan and his mom, who is here to,
That's his sister.
Crossan, yeah, that's his sister. That's his sister. But we're glad you're here. Are you working on a merit badge?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you think you got enough information today to pass that merit badge?
Great.
Probably more than enough, right? Thank you for being here. Does anyone like to come forward and make a comment? We encourage you to come back again. We appreciate you being here.